All right, guys, I just wanted to do my full deep dive on the one top 5 matchup we have this week, Ohio State and Notre Dame, the huge 2v5 game that will be happening at 7:30 on ABC. Huge anticipation. Let's get right into the official game preview. I'm going to go over keys to victory for Notre Dame, Ohio State, and then my official score prediction and kind of how I got there, things like that. So the overall preview, we've got ESPN's FPI giving Ohio State an 84% chance to win. Of course, Ohio State is the home team, so that gets buffered up to 84% chance. Notre Dame sitting at 16% chance. It's tough. You've got a young, new quarterback on the road, first-year head coach. The FPI ranks, Ohio State is number 2, Notre Dame is number 5, just like, same thing with the AP poll, so those are right in line. The overall spread is crazy. Ohio State is ballooned all the way up to 17.5. That's the last time I checked this morning, which was Monday, kind of like at 11 a.m., and you can see the trend for this spread is massively in Ohio State's advantage. So the public is betting heavily on Ohio State. The Buckeyes opened -14, and I actually heard a bunch of people say that spread's too high. There's no respect shown to Notre Dame, and it's only gotten worse. It is remarkable that this is a top 5 matchup, and the spread is up to 17.5. But I think that has to do with Notre Dame's situation in comparison to Ohio State. The new quarterback for Notre Dame, you look at Ohio State, they've got the current Heisman favorite. He's already got a year of experience under his belt, and the Buckeyes, the receiver room, it's amazing. It's not surprising. Well, I would say I am surprised the spread just keeps climbing. I thought for sure when it got to 15.5, it would settle. And it just, I would say it's probably going to go back down a little bit because there is decent value in Notre Dame at this point. I certainly wouldn't bet Notre Dame, but there is decent value. Also, I will say, I did not include this. The over-under is 58. I would take the over because I do think Ohio State's at least going to get to 42, possibly 45, maybe even 50 points. And Notre Dame certainly is going to score. It's not like Ohio State is going to shut Notre Dame out, in my opinion. And then, of course, guys, the weather is greatly impactful, so we just got to make sure, we're expecting 65 degrees, partly cloudy, just a 6% chance of rain. That's beautiful to see if you are an Ohio State fan. Weather, if it's raining or something like that, it is, hurts the team that's more talented more than, a team like, Notre Dame, considering Notre Dame a little bit less talent on their roster. If I was a Notre Dame fan, I would be rooting for rain, but rain is not in the forecast. And then the weather impact level, I give it a 1.5 out of 10. There's a few concerns about maybe a few passing clouds, whatever. But you know what? Maybe some humidity problems. Overall, it's going to be a great night, especially if it's 65 degrees with no rain. Let's move on to Notre Dame. Their keys to victory overall. Target Michael Mayer early and often, guys. Michael Mayer is the one guy that legitimately, he was a 5-star. He's going to be a first-round pick. He's a man-child. Okay, and if you're Notre Dame, you have to know, you have to be game planning. This is the one guy that we can really use to disrupt the Ohio State defense. This is a matchup problem for anyone on the Ohio State defense. Let's not shell up on the first few drives and just run the ball because we have a young quarterback. Let's get Michael Mayer involved early and often. Let's make the Ohio State defense be aware this is a matchup problem. You're going to have to allocate multiple resources to making sure you stop Michael Mayer. I'm targeting him 2 to 3 times, preferably on the first drive. He's a matchup problem. That's a one major advantage Notre Dame has in this game. If I am Notre Dame, I'm coming into this game saying we're going to make sure Michael Mayer is known and his name is said early and often, and he has the chance to make a big impact because maybe the pass is falling complete, but you got to at least try and target him early in this game and make Ohio State's defense be aware of him. And that will make your overall offense easier. Number 2, use the pass to set up the run. Throw on first down. So guys, this is a very interesting strategy. I think Ohio State and their defense is going to come out and they're going to be prepared for a lot of runs on 1st and 10. You've got a very young quarterback. If I'm Notre Dame, I'm utilizing a guy like Chris Tyree out of the backfield. I'm utilizing Michael Mayer being a big-bodied target. Throw the ball. They don't have to be deep passes on 1st down. Throw it early. Get your young quarterback settled into a rhythm. High percentage passes, things like that. But I love the idea of throwing on 1st and 10. The issues that tend to happen, let's say you come out with a vanilla offense, first play of the game, you run, now you're at 2nd and 8. Now let's say an incomplete pass happens, now it's 3rd and 8. Now you're sitting at a 3rd and 1. Let's throw on 1st and 10, even if you only get a few yards. It's better in terms of settling your young quarterback down, getting guys involved, and that also goes into the whole Michael Mayer situation and how I would target him, things like that. So use the pass, throw early in the game, and then into the second half, if you're leading, that's when I would start to really start jamming the football. You've got an unbelievable interior offensive lineman, Jarrett Patterson, who's a preseason first-team All-American. That's when I would utilize the run. But Ohio State is going to be expecting the run. Don't shell up. Come out, be aggressive. Understand that while you want to control the ball, you need to score points if you want to beat Ohio State. If you want to beat this Ohio State, you have to score. You have to score. You cannot sit there and score 24 points and just run the ball and run the clock out. You've got to score. Throw the football, be aggressive early in this game. Next, we've got pressure on C.J. Stroud, blitz on the first drive. So obviously, if you're facing this Ohio State offense, it's very hard to stop them outside of consistently getting pressure on C.J. Stroud. No, he doesn't handle pressure well, but he's gotten significantly better since the start of last year at dealing with it and moving throughout the pocket, and you would think he would only get better. So if I'm Notre Dame, I think the key thing, blitzing him on the first drive. The first 3rd down, you don't have to send an all-out blitz or anything like that, but I would seriously send an extra guy or two multiple times on the first drive. Considering, listen, you can drop, as many people as you want in coverage. If C.J. Stroud gets all day, if he's getting 7 or 8 seconds back there will be a receiver that gets open. Ohio State is simply too talented. You have to generate pass rush. The key is blitzing Stroud early in the game. Next, we've got utilize Tyler Buchner's mobility. So Ohio State tends to struggle at times with the more mobile quarterbacks. We saw it with Anthony Brown last year, week 2, converting multiple key 3rd downs with his legs. Certainly, this is a kid that's very athletic, definitely way more mobile than Jack Cohn was. So I'm sure they're going to be utilizing him on 3rd and short, and he will be running a lot. Heavy ball control, that's how you're going to have to beat a team like Ohio State. That's pretty self-explanatory. And then use Chris Tyree in the passing game, 3rd and short. That's a spot I would use Chris Tyree. Scat back, who's very kind of a great kick returner. So that's for Notre Dame. Ohio State keys to victory. Allow Stroud to get into a rhythm early. So week 1, it's always important when you have one of these big games. Even someone like C.J. Stroud, who is the Heisman favorite, get him a rhythm, get him a vibe going early on, throw the ball early, be aggressive, allow him to be settled quickly. We know he's got a lot of experience now, but it is the game number 1. These guys got to get going, allow him to get into a rhythm, establish a defensive identity, preferably with the pass rush. So Ohio State last year, not a good defensive team. This year, there's got to be a calling card. And I think this game, if Ohio State's defense has significant success, we're going to see guys like Jack Sawyer with possibly 1 or 2 sacks, JTT with possibly 1 or 2 sacks, Zach Harrison with maybe a sack. Get a significant pass rush going on Notre Dame and really establish an identity as a defense and as an elite pass rushing unit if you are Ohio State. No turnovers. I mean, listen, I know it's boring, but if you're 17-point home favorites, the only way you lose games where you're 17-point home favorites is if you turn the ball over, is if you settle for field goals in the red zone, which is something Ohio State did a lot last year. You're not going to want to do any of that. You got to punch the ball in, things like that. O-line needs to create a push. So that was a major issue last year, especially on 3rd and short for Ohio State. I think it was mainly due to offensive linemen playing out of position. They played 2 tackles at the guard position, really struggled to get any push up front. They're going to have to do that, especially on 3rd and shorts when you run the ball to Trevion Henderson, Mayan Williams, whatever. We saw several times last year those guys just get stonewalled. So get an actual push on the offensive line in those situations. And then the X factor, I would say, Emeka Egbuka. Listen, you could pick a number of guys you could pick Marvin Harrison Jr. as the X factor, but I don't know. I think Emeka Egbuka is going to make a huge play in this game. Somewhere there is a lot of guys to pick from for Ohio State, considering the talent that they do have. But that's just the major stuff. And then, guys, this is my overall prediction for week 1. So I am trying to be nice to Notre Dame here with this pick. Originally, I had Ohio State dropping a 50-burger. I've actually scaled it back down to 49 points, and I've got the Buckeyes winning this 49-24. The key thing here, settling for no field goals, right? 49 points, I believe that's 7 touchdowns. And then Notre Dame, maybe they kick an early field goal. They get a late touchdown with 2 sprinkled somewhere in the middle. They get 24. So the Buckeyes win this game, and they would cover the 17.5-point spread. And people look at this and they say, well, it's a blowout. Do you really think that? Yeah, guys, I do think Ohio State is going to blow out Notre Dame. This is literally the perfect storm for Ohio State. They're due for one of these bludgeonings at home, in my opinion. You've got the returning Heisman favorite. You're facing a young team with an inexperienced head coach, an inexperienced quarterback. They do have a very elite tight end. Wide receivers are decent, a good offensive line. The defense, they've got a very nice pass rusher. Notre Dame does, I know that. Other than that, they can be had, in my opinion. And I think Ohio State also playing at home. It's week 1. Ryan Day, after the Michigan loss, he's going to be on an absolute, tear this season with Ohio State, in my opinion. So I've got it at 49-24. If you're Notre Dame, it's the normal things. It's the ball control, but even more in depth, I would really throw the ball early, and I would make sure Michael Mayer has targets early. The last thing you want is to come out in your first series all puckered up, have 2 running plays. It's 3rd and 5, throw an incompletion. Now you're 3 and out, you're punting. Be aggressive. If you're going to lose the game, lose being aggressive. It's a weird situation where it's a top 5 matchup, but Notre Dame is a massive underdog. So you need to understand, you are the significant underdogs. You need to score points if you want to win this game. This is not going to be one of those 20-17 type wins. You're not winning like that. If you're going to win this game, even take a look at that Oregon game. Ohio State and their offensive struggles, I think it was still 35-28, and Ohio State had like 600 yards of offense. You need to score points. You need to embrace the idea that you're going to need to score points early in this game to beat Ohio State. So it makes no sense to me to come out all puckered up just because you're a young coach, young quarterback. Throw the ball, take chances. You have a matchup nightmare in your tight end who's going to be a first-round pick. If I'm Notre Dame, that's what I would do. If I'm Ohio State, I can't wait to see this team and just the overall talent. We understand it's absolutely immense. It's going to be great weather. That's really the only concern. There's a 6% chance of rain. Well, I would say because there's a 6% chance of rain, there's probably a 6% chance Notre Dame's going to beat Ohio State. Because the only way Notre Dame beats Ohio State is if there's a monsoon, folks. Let's be real. We can sit here and dance around the topic and things like that, but this is just how I see this huge week 1 game, and this would definitely catapult Ohio State over Alabama for the number 1 overall spot on the AP poll. Although, let's be real, Alabama faces Texas week 2. If they blow out Texas, I'm guessing Alabama will take the spot back. So it is what it is. We will see. But guys, that is going to do it for this preview. Ohio State, Notre Dame, the Buckeyes sitting at 17.5-point favorites, 7:30 ABC on Saturday. Absolutely major game. Going to be the number 1 game in terms of TV ratings this weekend, I'm sure. But that's going to do it, guys. Make sure you're following me on Twitter. Link to that's always in the description. I'm, of course, the Depressed Ginger. Thank you for watching.